And you're doing the right thing. But when we went to Iraq, he lost me, okay? So I gave him the benefit of the doubt. These guys haven't given this guy the benefit of the doubt on anything. Nothing. He's done nothing right. And you know what? I'm not happy with him, to be honest with you. But he's done some things. I think he's heading in some kind of a right direction. Other things he's going totally off on. But I'm not pulling the guy down by the pants.
Well, you know, Glenn Beck is a pretend libertarian. And so it makes us libertarian people who really hold the philosophy a little upset, because we don't want this guy to
represent
be our poster boy.
Of course not.
Because you know, anybody who says, you know, a lot of the things that we believe, but then turns around and holds diametrically opposed viewpoints when it comes to the war, or things like that. It's just, to me, it says, okay, I'm a shill. I'm a shill. That's what he is. And a shill to me is an insider. It's
absolutely.
You know,
we used to use guys like that in three-card Monte.
You know, that's what you got. You know, throw the card.
You
got to know how to throw the card.
I know how to pass that card. I was good at it.
But yeah, he upsets me because people equate him with the Ron Paul revolutionaries and things like that. And no, he's not one of us. He was against Ron Paul when Ron Paul was running. He's called us names. He said we're insane. He's going on and on and on. And to me, I look at the guy on there and I'm like, we're the insane ones?
Well, that's the thing that I look at. I always say, and I can't stand his on-air attitude. It's almost like I said to him before, he's not the kind of guy you want to punch in the face if you were in the neighborhood. It's the kind of guy you just want to smack. See, because that's more embarrassing when you slap somebody. You know, because you don't punch a guy like him because he'll crawl down and cry, call the police and things like that. Just smack them, embarrass them, and that's it. Because he gives you that I know everything attitude when he looks at the camera and he makes the faces, you know. I got to get this guy off the air. I mean, I know I'm not singly going to be able to do it, but hopefully if enough people...
See, we believe in the free marketplace of ideas.
Let them stay
bad ideas and good ideas. To tell you the truth, as bad as it, I don't care how bad their ideas are. If they want to get on there and expose their bad ideas, go ahead.
Well, it's true, because it makes them look like rear ends.
Whatever. I mean, it's the marketplace. See, I'm a free market guy. The marketplace of ideas.
Hey, the guy's a free market guy, John. You know what I'm saying here?
The people will listen to all of it and decide for themselves. If they don't get to hear all of it, then they're not deciding for themselves.
Well, that's the other thing I believe in. I always tell everybody the same thing. You need to hear both sides of a story. You just can't listen to one side. And, you know, when I see the ultra-conservatives who only listen to the people who are like themselves, who write books that are like themselves, they're not looking at anything else except those things.
I'll tell you what. And you know I'm a Ron Paul guy all the way. But when the presidential thing was coming, I bought Obama's book, Audacity of Hope, and I read that. I bought Rudy Giuliani's book, Leadership. I don't like either one, and after I read their books, I liked them less. But I thought, I have to know what they say about themselves. How can I sit here and judge them without at least seeing what they say about themselves? You know, Rudy Giuliani impressed me as a guy who thought he was a leader. But in order to be a leader, someone has to want to follow you, you know.
Oh, I love
all he did was say leader, 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 leader. The whole book was leadership, 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 leadership. I'm sorry, I don't elect a leader. I elect a representative. He's not supposed, I'm not a sheep. I don't need to follow anybody across the field.
You don't have to be led, of course not. Of course not.
And you know, this idea that we even have leaders, to me, is ridiculous. These people
well, you know what, though?
You know, these are the representatives that the people elect to go there and to do what they want done.
I have to refer back to my very conservative nephew who lives in Texas. And he said to me, do you want the government to run you? Do you want the... I said, you know what? I don't want the government to run me because nobody's ever run me my whole lifetime. I mean, I got out of corporate life because I couldn't take the nonsense of corporate life. So I made my own way.
That's why I never got into it.
I started my own, but I had the taste of it. I had to taste it because in those days you had to take those steps. And I was always smart enough to go to the step that I needed to get my education further, you know, into a situation where I'd be able to educate myself into what's going on. So one of the things I wanted to do was to see how does it feel to look at both sides of a story, and if I was debating it, could I debate both sides? Could I be one side then the other side? And if I couldn't do both sides, then I'd say, okay, there's not enough information, and let me just now take the narrow middle road. But I'm a liberal, okay? And being a liberal, I also believe I'm conservative. Now, how can you be both? I was saying before, well, when it comes to money and spending money, I'm a little conservative. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I don't want to see $4 billion go to Israel if Israel only needs $2 billion. You know, I don't want to see.
I don't want to see a dollar.
Well, I'm saying, I don't want to see $10 billion go to a country that doesn't like me.
I don't
Okay?
care if they like us or
Yeah.
not. I don't think we have
Well-
any right under the Constitution to give our
Well,
money away.
now that's something else. If you're talking about by letter of the law, we shouldn't give anything away. It should all be here in this
Period.
country. And you know what? At one point, it needed to be done. World War II, it needed to be done. You needed to rebuild Europe because of the fact that the world was getting smaller. We needed that, and the truth of the matter is,
I don't believe that, but that's
Well,
okay.
okay,
I
but-
mean, to me,
but it
you know,
makes a little bit more sense because you want to rebuild a country that's your ally.
we haven't had a free country since Lincoln.
Let me go one step further. You said something that's very interesting, very interesting, because when I think about this, here we are, we rebuilt France. They owe us a ton of money and they ain't giving it back. So you're right. When you
Nobody's
think
paying
about-
for any of
you
that.
know, so my point is,
Well, wait a minute. We're providing
You're gonna
defense for Korea today.
yeah,
50 years after the war, we're still there with
I don't
50,
even know why, I
60,000
don't
troops.
know why we're doing it.
We got
32,000. That's 32,000.
They must have reduced it.
No,
It
no,
was
it's always,
last time I
always been,
looked.
always been 32,000.
You got Germany. How many troops there?
That one I don't know, but Korea I happen to have a special
Another
interest in.
50 or 60,000 troops in Germany. We're providing their defense. This means that their companies don't have to pay taxes for their military to defend themselves.
don't even pay us
because
for it.
we're doing it.
And they don't pay us for it.
All right, and now our companies have to pay the taxes to defend that country, so now our companies can't compete with their companies.
You heard it here.
We keep killing ourselves, and you know what? We're going to die.
Well, you know
If
what?
you keep taking poison, eventually you get sick. If you're sick and you still take the poison, you're
Shame-
going to die.
Of course.
And they're killing our country, and this is why guys like me get upset and get on the internet for 2 years, 5 days a week, and start hollering about this, because somebody's got to. But then Glenn Beck watches my shows or something because he steals my crap. He's a bit hack. You know, not that I believe he really watches my shows, but he is a bit hack. I mean, everything he says that is right, he took out of my shows. I'm like, what's he doing?
You heard it right here. Ron's right.
Well, one of the first things I said was that let's never forget 9/11, but let's remember 9/12. That was one of the first shows I did during the Ron Paul campaign. Was let's think about 9/12 and how we were all Americans on 9/12.
That's right.
We were all together. Yeah, and I mean it. People stopped and waved you in, you know, people stopped in the store and started talking to you in line. It was a whole different feeling. There was a whole different
We
spirit.
were all Americans.
We were all Americans that day.
No parties.
And I brought that up a few years ago. Then I hear, you know, Glenn Beck starts his 9/12 thing. Well, I think it's horrible that now has to be tied to him. And I don't really think it is, because I think a lot of the new 9/12 people that are doing that, they got their own way. They're not just following this guy. But you know what? That's the spirit we really need. And I always offer an extended hand to the progressives. They're on the total opposite side of the spectrum as I am ideologically. They think healthcare, and I'm like, why would you give something that important, that you feel is that important, to this same old corrupt cronies and government hacks and corporate hacks to run? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, you know what? You got a situation that, you're absolutely right, okay? But let me get back to what I originally was talking about before, about government. You know there are times we're children. We're children. You say you don't want to be led or anything else, neither do I. But there are times
And we pay for it.
But there are times I've got to bow to someone who knows more than I do, okay?
That's called an authority.
Yeah.
Somebody who has authority on
Yeah.
that subject.
But I'm saying, there are times you say, this guy knows a little bit more than me, let me bow to him and say, okay, you go on, and let me hear what you've got to say.
Sorry, I bow to no man.
Well, you know what, when I say bow, I'm using the wrong word. Maybe I should turn it to that I would give them a respect of whatever knowledge they may have that I certainly don't have at that particular point. I certainly wouldn't go into an architect and tell him how to build a house because I know nothing about it. So I bow to that, okay? I give that man his respect for his knowledge.
But see, I would let you build your house, make your mistakes, and learn.
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I would not. I said, see, I can't, I believe you should have a drawn line, because otherwise you waste time in life. I don't want to waste time. So now what I look at is this. There are certain things in socialism that I don't find so bad. And there's certain things naturally I find appalling, appalling. And my friend said to me, well, geez, this government can't run